I just think people get lost in that, or they make excuses and everyone's super busy. And it kind of goes back to the conversation you have with your boss.
Fulcrum point for me where I knew I needed to invest in something so that I had something else was about 2 years ago. I was booked at about 300% time at work.
For me to make this happen on my own, it would have taken 18 months. I did it in 3 months because I had the toolkit and the game board handed to me all at once.
Buying the triplex I got, or buying, say, my first apartment, it was the exact same process.
If your goal is to buy and hold for the long term, I don't necessarily look at short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, long-term rentals, or syndications as shiny objects.
You're house hacking to subsidize your housing, basically live close to for free.
There are so many financial maneuvers you can make on even one building that could change your financial future.
Welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. As always, it's your boys, Ryan and Cory here with another episode. Today, we have a fun episode. We're actually interviewing one of our community members in the Wealth Juice Inner Circle on his experience getting his first rental property. And one of the fun things about this gentleman that we're bringing in, his name's Ray Murphy. He's 28 years old and he is an architect in New York City. And Ray was going through the process of researching financial independence, how to become wealthy, after a conversation he had with his boss one day when he felt essentially overworked and he could not get the tasks he needed to do in the amount of time that they needed to be done. And he felt like he was just compressing things and really trying to get things done. And his boss kind of said, tough cookies, like, this is what we need done. You got to get it done. So Ray started seeking funds elsewhere to say, okay, how can I build additional cash flow for myself in other silos of income so that I don't have to solely rely on this if this isn't something I want to do forever. He does love the job and he loves that he is an architect, but this kind of opened the door to say, whoa, like, I am controlled by someone else right now and I'm punching a clock every day. How do I provide myself some level of freedom now that I'm young, and hopefully, years down the line, it'll pay for me. So he stumbled upon real estate investing and then started shopping around for communities, stumbled across the podcast and then social media. And, we had a number of conversations with Ray and we decided to work together. And one of the cool parts about the story is within 90 days, Ray got a triplex under contract and closed on it. He bought it for $400,000. He's actually going to house hack this. So he'll be living in one unit, having tenants in the other two. If he moves out, he'll cash flow between $600 and $800 a month, which is amazing. But what he's doing, a really unique and financially savvy move, he works remote, which is amazing. So he's going to be making the salary of a New York City employee, but going to be almost arbitraging that by living in Philadelphia. So that way he's living on the Philadelphia cost of living, but still making a high income, plus house hacking. So he's just setting himself up financially in such a good way at such a young age. And so what we wanted to kind of do before we got into the show with Ray is just say, like, these are average, normal people getting deals done that were studying real estate, interested in it, and finally took the leap to join a community and surround themselves with other people that want to get things done and are getting them done on a daily basis. And you're shortening the time horizon to getting to where you want to get to. And so I'm just so proud of Ray. He's like I said, a young buck, got after it, did it by himself for so long, realized he needed someone else, tapped us and said, hey guys, can you help me out? And he was very quick to his first deal. And so I want to make sure that I'm highlighting, he's obviously not a podcaster. This is us just riffing, talking about his first deal. So it should be an interesting episode for you guys. But what I wanted to read was Ray left us, it was probably one of the best testimonials we ever got. And it was a very short, quick glimpse into his circle, basically commending him and saying, dude, this is amazing to see what you're doing. And so I'm going to read it. He says, countless people in my friends and family are connecting with me for how hard I worked, and I humbly chuckle because Wealth Juice essentially gave me all the resources to make it happen overnight. For me to make this happen on my own, it would have taken 18 months. I did it in 3 months because I had the toolkit and the game board handed to me all at once. LOL. So it's just really cool for us to be able to be on the receiving end of that. And, we like to share their stories and say, hey, listen, do you want to come on the podcast, share your story and like get this out to the masses? And let's show that anyone can do this. If you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to put the time, energy, and effort into study the game, train the muscle memory to analyze deals, you can get it done as long as you're around the people that are doing it every day. So
he threw in that LOL because he knew, he was like, this is the cheat code. And he said this, he's like, I'm laughing because they're telling, like, people are commending me and being like, congratulations. And he's like, I did do it, but he's like, I had the toolkit and I had people showing me exactly what to do. It was almost like a hidden cheat code. So Ray's a great guy. He is, an advocate for Philadelphia, which we always love. So did you have anything else there? I think we should bring him on in.
No, let's do it. Let's bring in Ray. Ray, welcome to the show, man. We are so excited to have you here. I think it's a long time coming, but We want to share your journey today, showcase kind of how you hit the ground running by taking a leap into real estate investing, and showcase your first deal, man. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So let's do this. Let's just start from the top. Tell us where you're from, what you do for a living, and then why you decided real estate was going to be part of your financial journey, and kind of how you stumbled upon real estate investing as a whole.
So my name is Ray Murphy. I am currently in the process to moving to Philadelphia, where I just bought my first triplex. And I am an architect. So I'm within the design industry. And my leap into real estate is because I started getting on really big projects at work. And I started seeing a lot of my bosses, even at the highest pay grade, are still like chained to their desk 80 hours a week. And I just wanted the opportunity down the road to not do that. So to have assets on the side, cash flowing, so that I could maybe join the FIRE community, financially independent, retire early, would be a good thing to start getting on top of now.
Love it, man. Now, real quick. So you mentioned the FIRE movement, and Cory and I started there too. So I just wanted to chime in here. I think a lot of people did the same thing as we did, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but we got to a point too with our W-2s, we were like seeing everybody still change their desk. And it's like, hey, do I want to be the person 2-3 steps above me at this company? Like, and just continually living in the quote unquote rat race, if you will, or do I want to do something else? And basically we just Googled how to become rich, how to become wealthy, passive income, right? And then real estate's the thing that hits over and over and over. And we're like, okay, let's not recreate the wheel here. Let's just figure out maybe a lane within real estate that works for us. Did you have the same thing that happened to you, or did it come from a book or a podcast? Like, how'd it happen?
So very similar, where I started Googling like investing for beginners, and everything that pops up on the algorithm is stock market, 401k, real estate, or laundromats, which I think are really trendy right now. But I chose real estate because I thought it was kind of dummy proof in a way. Like historically, it makes most people really wealthy. So I figured it had to have some guarantee to it.
Right. This happens to a lot of people. So Ryan and I met somebody that we traveled to early when we were starting out in real estate investing. We went to Cleveland and we met with a guy who was 3 years into law school. And he stopped law school because what he was doing is he was doing transactions for real estate investors. And he was seeing, people that were wholesaling and flipping and buying rentals, making these big checks and these big exits and all this cash flow. And he's like, I made $1,500 on this transaction. Like, I wonder if I can change the trajectory. So when you and I initially first met, I thought it was just a really good conversation. And it happened to be moving to our backyard, which is cool. But I remember hearing from you, like I'm looking at my bosses, I'm looking at what's ahead of me. Like, it's not like you don't like what you do, but I think more people that are in their late 20s, mid to late 20s, should have this thought of like, okay, this foresight of like, all right, well, if this is going to be me in 10 years, what am I going to feel like in this position? And I think that I got to give you, credit here because you're really starting to think ahead. So I know you mentioned like getting into real estate, thinking that was going to be your thing. I'm curious if you had any fears or doubts, like prior to, like what was the thought process of like, okay, I want to do this, but then I got to figure out the how to. So how did that play a factor?
I think when you start to genuinely understand the implications of not doing it, you become very comfortable with doing it. And during that conversation, I was talking about how I was kind of mentor shopping, and I was talking to other people about what their real estate investment group was like, or what their laundromat group was like. And one of the reasons I really chose you guys is because your thesis was on beginner-friendly first deals, which is what a lot of the group is doing right now, which kind of maybe alleviated a lot of those fears, because what I really got was a toolkit of people and resources just to expedite the process. If I didn't have that, this could have been a 2 years making, and I would still live at home with my parents.
Yeah, I'm curious about, so first of all, thank you. That means a lot. But what pushed you over the decision-making edge here of like, well, you and I talked, and it's not like you hate your life, right? Like you're like doing things that you somewhat enjoy, but you're looking into your future saying, okay, I got to really take control. So what was the decision that you made? Because a lot of people think that, and they're like, yep, I want to get into real estate. I want to make the moves, but you know what, it's too uncomfortable, and it's like I'd rather just sit in this mode. Was there a thing or something like tangible that you can point to that was like, oh, this is why I actually want to make the moves? Because you were one of the quickest moving individuals that we have met that are like, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it now. And you sent us a message the other day that was like, hey, this would have taken me 18 months and you got your first deal done in 90 days. And I was just as impressed by you as I've been with anyone who's like, hey, I'm going to get into real estate and 90 days later you have a deal. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So the fulcrum point for me where I knew I needed to invest in something so that I had something else was about 2 years ago. I was booked at about 300% time at work. And I went to my managers and said, like, I can't do all this. And their response was quite literally, this is the life you signed up for within design, manage your time effectively and figure it out. And that was the kind of like the point of saying, this is not plausible for any sort of long-term stamina duration.
And I imagine, Ray, that like, so I don't know too much about your world, but you're not on commission. So like you put in the hours, and maybe there's overtime, that could be true, but like you put in the hours and you get paid your salary. So you have to then think as an outsider, like, okay, now I have to go put my money to work for me. So the decision to get into real estate makes sense. The decision to take action makes sense. I see where you are now. What led you to join our mentorship and our community? Like, what about having somebody to show you the way as opposed to doing it alone? Like, how did you decide that was the path that you wanted to go down?
It had a lot to do with learning lessons directly. You learn best by making mistakes. So to have somebody who's already made them just tell you up front what not to do is super helpful. And then also, your thesis about just being beginner friendly was really great. Everybody in the group is in the same spot, so nobody feels stupid for asking questions. And it's just a very stress-free, non-judgmental environment. I think real estate falls into kind of like the finance category, which can be very competitive, and I would not feel comfortable if that were the case.
Ray, talk to me a little bit about the internal dialogue that you had with yourself to say, I'm not going to only invest in real estate, but I'm going to invest in myself. And I want to just set the stage here. People get to this point where they're like, hey, it'd be cool to get a mentor. It'd be cool to go to a coaching program, but they never end up doing it because I think coaching programs, online get a bad rep, because you have to vet out the right people to actually help you out. But I think some people just are so, stubborn to the point of they think they can do it all, or they'll just say, I'll figure this out on my own. And then 2-3 years goes down the line and nothing happens. So did you have to convince yourself one way or another that like investing in yourself was a good thing? Did it come from some, intrinsic conversation you maybe had with a friend or family member, or a book or a podcast you listened to? Or I just want to know how you made that decision, because you're a young cat, and for you to be able to make that decision and see the light earlier than most people is impressive.
Maybe it's natural. I think spending money on yourself to improve your skill set or education is always a good thing. So I also think about opportunity costs. So like paying to join you guys, I now have 2 more years of equity in my building ownership instead of waiting 2 years to buy it. So weighing those things out was helpful. Maybe it's personal growth mindset that's helpful also. I'm not really sure. I think it's kind of one of those things you have to just buy into and mobilize on.
Yeah. I guess it's probably hard to explain your thought process here. I get to watch it from a bird's eye view, which is cool, but you're a very intellectual and smart guy, which is you understand how the world works being young, but also I can tell just the way you speak that you think and act with intention. And, you don't, what I really like about you is like your quick start. We've worked together for a couple of months here, but just like I just remember day one, we said, hey dude, XYZ, go do these things. And you immediately went and did those. And then you said, okay, what's next? And that was impressive to us, because Cory and I, when we really bought into this game, that was us. We were like, dude, okay, cool. I did that. What's next? And like, I just think people get lost in that, or they make excuses, and everyone's super busy. And it kind of goes back to the conversation you have with your boss. And a lot of people go to that. And it's like, it's basically tough shit. Here we go. Like, this is life. Here's what we need to get done. It's a business, get it done. So maybe you took a little bit of that to, hey, they're treating me this way. I have to do this work no matter what. My time horizon is shrunk to get the result at work. So I have to do it. maybe you just did that yourself too. And I think of us in, in college and things like that. There's, if you get, I don't know if you're similar to Cory and I, but I just remembered for me, if I had a week to study for something, I'd always wait till the last minute and like, okay, I have 24 hours, study, cram, learn it, pass, get a good grade, move on. I don't think that's it. That type of thing doesn't really work in the real world when you really need to learn a skill set and sharpen it. So I don't know, maybe just take us through kind of how you went from, okay, I know I need to do these things now. Like, here's the list of, ABC that Ryan and Cory said, hey, you need to do this to build your team. You need to talk to this person. Maybe talked about how you organized this and you knew you had the confidence in yourself or an action plan to go take it and get it done. Cause I think a lot of people listening are like, okay, I get it. This guy's a self-starter, but how did he actually go do it? So maybe how did you manage, the W-2 in this?
So I guess you have to understand that buying the triplex I got, or buying, say, my first apartment, it was the exact same process. I still need a real estate agent. I still need a mortgage person. I still need to do the inspection. What I now just had to do was learn the math that would say that this building would then make me money down the road at some point, and how are my renters paying it off as I'm house hacking and living in it. And I think that was the learning curve. But even that, it's really not that difficult. And I think a lot of times, or people tell themselves they can't do things because they think they're difficult, but they're actually just foreign. They're not hard. So once you actually force yourself to dive in, it gets easier. A tool I also like to do mentally for myself is give myself really short deadlines, because a lot of these very simple tasks can probably get done in an hour. If you just say, like, the deadline's at noon, let me just call the electric company, fill out the form and send it in. And all of a sudden now it's done and you didn't really procrastinate on it.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're speaking our language here, and I love the way that you broke that down. I want to get into some of the specifics of the deal. Like, let's talk about this first deal. Let's talk about, give us some numbers. Okay, so you bought this property for X amount. What's the location? How did we help you find it? Because putting all these puzzle pieces together are what allows you to look at a deal and say, all right, this is a good one. The math, all that, whatever you're willing to share. I'd love to hear about the specifics.
So I found myself a very beginner-friendly triplex in West Philadelphia in an up-and-coming neighborhood outside of UPenn. I'd call it like a B-class community, and the renters in it pay, let's say, 3/4 of my base mortgage, which is a very big chunk. What I will say is, when you are doing your interest at 6.75% right now in the market, you are essentially buying with the assumption that you will refinance down. So I will eventually start making money on the building once I refinance to a smaller mortgage. While I live in it, I'll be paying the equivalent of rent on a 1-bedroom in Philly. So in my mind, I get the full asset to myself, and I'm paying the exact same thing as if I rented and paid for somebody else's mortgage.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to note, because a lot of people are trying to get into real estate and they're trying to house hack. And by the way, you can house hack for free these days. It's just a little bit harder than it was in, say, 2018. Mm-hmm. But for you to take an asset and say, all right, I'm going to pay what I would be paying for a 1-bed, but I'm also having the tenants pay down my loan and I'm getting the appreciation value of this property going up. The math was, okay, when I move out, what could I rent this for, my unit for, and how will it cash flow? And I think you've put yourself in a really good position to, really for your future. And then you're already talking to me about your next property, putting it in an LLC, like what's the next move? And I think you're just thinking in 5-year plan. And that's impressive to me. So I want to ask about any challenges that you have with the property. Like, while you were trying to acquire it, like what came up for you that maybe was challenging, or was it smooth once you got it under contract and located it?
So I think, at the beginning of the conversations we started when I was onboarding with you guys, my biggest concern was building management, and kind of maintenance. And one of the things that made it a lot easier is, once I got the rent roll for the building, I saw that there was already a property management in place because the owner lived out of state. So I just called them and retained them. And all of a sudden, a lot of those maintenance issues about just like, what does it mean to like fix up a building or handle all that tenant stuff, were kind of immediately delegated away from myself. So maybe, I don't know if that answers the question directly, but the difficult things kind of were alleviated when I was able to operate as a business and not a person and delegate tasks away.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, that does answer the question. I'm curious about what about, our internal program helped you navigate those even on a better scale? Like, what do you think that we were able to bring to the table that allowed you to be like, all right, well, I do have these issues. And again, that's the thing. It's like the issues come up and then you deal with it. It's like, okay, I have this problem, then I deal with it. What about, the mentorship allowed you to maybe think that those problems weren't as big as you originally thought?
A lot more people that are a lot more well-educated than me were able to weigh in on these problems. So like I'm buying with a first-time home buyer, but I have an LLC. So technically, if you transfer it, all of a sudden the deed and the title comes into question because you can't really have a personal loan under a commercial entity if it's not paid off. So there was a lot of people within the group that you have that were able to weigh in on how that was possible and what that meant in the long term and right now. So I think it was just like a lot of well-educated people.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it goes back to the experience of people who have already made the mistakes. So when I ask these questions, they know how to advise me so that I didn't.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious about your mindset now, like what your goals are. Has acquiring this first rental property changed the goals for your future? Are you looking to acquire one a year? What are your plans? Like, what are you looking to do in the future as it relates to the real estate game now that you have your first one under your belt?
The answer is all the above. Right now, I think I need to spend time living in this building and also fixing it up. Admittedly, right now, it's kind of a trash can. It needs some love to it. So I just want to bring up my real estate value so that eventually I can cash out, refinance, and buy another one. I'm also having the conversation with myself where I'm like, maybe my portfolio is just a series of triplexes and I don't feel the need to do these like mass buildings that a lot of people aspire to. And maybe I want to do syndications. Maybe I do want that laundromat that a lot of people do end up buying. I'm kind of open-ended to it, and I think that's the right mindset. Within the conversations with the group, there was a lot more loan types and ways to real estate invest than I initially thought. I really thought the way to do it was this long-term buy and hold rentals. But when you get exposed to the DSCR, the short-term, the midterm, the renting to nurses, it kind of opens up a can of worms. At the same time, it does become easy to get attached to a new shiny object. So to have some kind of loose framework on how you're scaling your business is very helpful.
Yeah, and I think what happens is you get that first deal under your belt. Well, I know what happens is you get that first deal under your belt, and then it opens the world of the possibilities. And I don't necessarily look at if you're going to buy and hold. If your goal is to buy and hold for the long term, I don't necessarily look at short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, long-term rentals, or syndications as shiny objects. I think that they are a strategy or a tool on your tool belt. But we teach people, hey, if you get your first deal, whether it's a house hack or a long-term rental, if you can get your first deal under your belt, you're going to watch this game open up for you. And you have these caverns and these doors that open. And I can tell you, Ray, from firsthand experience, that first house hack that I bought, X amount of years later has $250,000 worth of equity in it. And then you're saying, well, do I have that amount in my 401k or do I have that plus my 401k, right? Like, so the game opens up, which I think leads a lot of people to the next stage of real estate. And that could be whatever you want it to be. But I'm just so glad that you're able to get that first deal done. And that's really the name of the game here. So how do you feel like, well, I guess we already touched on the financial plans. Like do you feel like you want to stay at this job for a period of time? Like it sounds like real estate for you is going to be like, hey, I'm going to work this job. Maybe I move jobs and move into a different sphere, but this is your investment strategy, right? Like this is hey, I'm going to buy as many properties as I can on the side. You're not necessarily interested in going like full time into real estate. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
For the moment, I'll say I don't want to close that off to an opportunity. Right now, my job it's a very large company, so I have infinite upward mobility if I decide to take on the workload. They do give me things to learn and grow and do. But more importantly, there's also hybrid. Like my job's out of New York and I live in Philly now. So there's a lot of opportunity to live in the cheaper zip code. Like if I couldn't house hack in New York proper, that's way too expensive. So I had to move to Philly to start my financial investing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the amount of people that are moving from New York to Philly that are not necessarily moving like I want to move to Philly firsthand. I'm thinking that way, but it's like I know people personally that are renting for $5,000 a month in Brooklyn,
Yep.
and they can get that same. Even if they're moving to rent, they can get it for $3,000 or less in Philly. So it opens up with remote work an opportunity for you to work and live in different places. And I think I love Philly. It's what I mean. I grew up here, so it's like it's one of my favorite places. But right, I'm kind of boxing you out here. Did you have anything that you wanted to touch on with Ray?
Yeah, I'm just trying to like put a bow on this also. It's just impressive at such a young age. You've been able to take action. You literally moved to another city. You're house hacking to subsidize your housing, basically live close to for free, and then move out of the big city where you can still make the high pay of the big city, but pay less in rent in the cheaper city. I think you're just doing all things the right way. And we talk about this as like setting your financial backing and foundation up first, right? And like you did that. You were well educated, but then it's like, okay, you need to tap someone on the shoulder to help you get past the baton to get to the finish line. So I just want to talk about mentorship again and like just circle back here is like how, and it doesn't have to be specifically us, but like mentorship in general for those people that are looking to get into real estate. How important do you think it is for someone to seek out mentorship to get into the game versus just going at it alone? I'm just curious on your thoughts on this whole idea of, the community, putting people around you and finding the who, not how.
I guess I want to maybe destigmatize the word mentor. Like you just need a group of people that are doing it, like casually or formally, because that's what really changes the conversation that you're involved in. There was a growing amount of learning curves that went into what I was doing, and just being a part of the conversation alone helped mitigate a lot of it so that I didn't have to read another textbook and do it myself. So what is mentorship? It's in a class. You're in a classroom. That's what it is. Having somebody who's already done it, if you're in their office and you get to see what's on their desk, it's helpful.
Yeah, love it, man. Well, Ray, first of all, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your journey, sharing your story. I'm excited to see what's next for you. I just think this is just the beginning, and that's the most exciting part. It's cool to watch somebody who's, at an age where we got started investing in real estate at a point where they're just starting their journey, and to be able to get that first deal under your belt, things really start to open up and change. So, if people want to learn more about you, they want to follow your journey, connect, network, build that community, as you mentioned, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My Instagram is at Ray T Murphy. Currently it's private, but if you shoot me a DM and let me know you found me from the pod, I'll happily invite you in.
Awesome, man. So in closing, do you have any final words of advice for someone thinking about investing in real estate but is hesitant to start?
I have heard more people say they wish they invested in real estate rather than people say, I wish I didn't invest in real estate. There are so many financial maneuvers you could make on even one building that could change your financial future. I mean, my financial future just fractured in a really positive growth place because I got the building. So
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but wanted to just have a reminder here. Can you remind people how old you are?
I'm 28.
28. Can you remind us purchase price and cash flow of your property?
I'm going to say right now, I don't cash flow yet. I'll cash flow once I do some renovations and move out. Let's say purchase price was just shy of 400. You can use 5% down on a first-time home buyer, or I think of your first FHA can be 3.5%.
You nailed it. So I guess my question is, are you going to be able to live completely for free in this property, or will you just pay a very small amount in rent by house hacking?
Very small amount.
Amazing, dude. And just for average rent in the city, I mean, you're typically paying well over $1,000. So it's very cool for you to be able to pocket that cash, stash it aside for another investment, build it up, and do the thing, man. You got a high income in New York, and you have a great story. So Cory and I are proud of you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. We're looking forward to helping you get number 2, and we appreciate you joining the show today.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'll see you around.